The Kennedy family has been an American political dynasty for over 125 years. The name Kennedy on a ballot almost automatically assures victory. Until now. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On my weekly podcast, topics, discussions, stories from our lives.
Season 9, Chapter 11.
RFK Jr. What's the deal?
In April of 2023, Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. announced his campaign to become President of the United States. He is challenging the current U.S. President Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination to lead his party into the 2024 U.S. election. Many people think that the Kennedy era of American politics began when war hero John Fitzgerald Kennedy first went to Washington as the young senator from Massachusetts in 1947. His father, Joseph Patrick Kennedy, often credited as the puppet master behind his son's rise to the presidency, was in fact himself in several politically appointed positions. And Joseph Patrick's father before him, Patrick Joseph Kennedy, and that would be JFK's grandfather, was a state congressman and state senator in Massachusetts. And over the years since, there have been about 15 Kennedys elected or appointed to offices of public service. People who have married into the Kennedy family have also become public servants, most notably Sergeant Shriver, Andrew Cuomo, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. The most notable era of Kennedy politics was, of course, the JFK presidency, Camelot's, with his brother Bobby as Attorney General, the tragic end to both of those lives, and the long run of yet younger brother Ted Kennedy. As I said, many offspring have held state and national office, capable all, I suppose, but other than the name attached, none seem to inherit the Kennedy charisma or capture wider public allure. JFK Jr., John certainly might have, though not in politics. Perhaps one day he might have had to heed the call in Trudeau-esque fashion. But as we all remember, tragedy befell the family again when the small plane John was flying crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off Martha's Vineyard one July night in 1999. Edward Teddy Kennedy was elected first in 1962, served as a senator until his passing in 2009. And since then, no real Kennedy presence in American national politics until the recent declaration by RFK Jr.
I've come here today to announce my candidacy for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. My mission over the next 18 months of this campaign and throughout my presidency will be to end the corrupt merger of state and corporate power.
Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. was born in 1954. He would be JFK's nephew. His father was in the midst of his own presidential bid when he was assassinated in Los Angeles in 1968. RFK Jr.'s siblings, Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, Jean Kennedy Smith, and Joseph P. Kennedy II, have all dabbled in politics. Up until recently, RFK Jr. was an environmental lawyer and activist. Let's deal with this obvious thing first, in case you did not know.
To commoditize our children, our Purple Mountain's majesty, to poison our children and our people.
RFK Jr. has spasmodic dysphonia. According to the ailment's website, it is a chronic neurological voice disorder, causing involuntary spasms of the muscles that open or close the vocal cords, resulting in a voice that presents with breaks and a strained, strangled quality. It's known to be neurological in origin, but the cause is not known. Some researchers hope that a high-profile person such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can help bring attention to this affliction, perhaps help expedite research for a cause and a cure. Most people can see past an affliction or a disability and concentrate on the person themselves. At least I hope so. I mention it only because a lot of people do not know that he has this dysphonia, and sometimes a strange voice can sound even stranger if you are saying strange things. And here we are at that. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said a lot of strange things lately, especially upon his entry into the U.S. presidential race. Here's a little lead-up. Might be handy to know. RFK Jr. is the third of 11 children to Robert and Ethel Kennedy. He was 9 when his Uncle John was assassinated, and 14 when his father was shot on the campaign trail in L.A.
Senator Kennedy has been shot. Is that possible? Is that possible? Is it possible, ladies and gentlemen? It is possible. He has not only Senator Kennedy, oh my God, Senator Kennedy has been shot, and another man, a Kennedy campaign manager, and possibly shot in the head. I am right here. Rafer Johnson has a hold of a man who apparently has fired the shot.
He learned of the shooting while at an exclusive prep school. He and his 2 elder siblings were immediately flown to Los Angeles on Hubert Humphrey's vice presidential aircraft and were there in the hospital with their father when he died some 25 hours after the shooting. Jr. was a pallbearer and at the funeral spoke and read excerpts from some of his father's speeches. One can barely imagine the trauma of that experience at age 14. Jr. was shortly thereafter kicked out of 2 different boarding schools for using drugs. At age 16, he and a cousin were arrested for possession of marijuana. He was given 13 months probation. Well, he was still a Kennedy, so he did attend Harvard, graduating in 1976 with a Bachelor of Arts in American History, then to the London School of Economics, later getting a law degree from Virginia and a Master's of Law from Pace University. Much of his career has been as an environmental lawyer. RFK Jr. was low profile, at least as Kennedys go, but did pop up in the news occasionally for personal reasons, the wrong ones. A 2015 book entitled RFK Jr. and the Dark Side of the Dream suggests he was a serial philanderer, and that would be far from the first Kennedy to face those accusations, and that he had a lifelong addiction issue. The book alleges he proposed to his second wife, Mary, while still married to his first wife, Emily, and that Mary was already pregnant with their first child before the nuptials. His multiple marriages and addiction issues are well known. RFK Jr. makes no denials, but at the same time he widely denounced this book, saying that the author made no attempt to interview him before penning the biography. He did marry his first wife, Emily, in 1982. They separated in 92, divorced in 94. Weeks after the 94 divorce, he married Mary. In May of 2010, Kennedy filed for divorce from Mary. 3 days later, she was charged with drunk driving. In May of 2012, Mary was found dead in a building on their home property in upstate New York. The local medical officer ruled it a suicide by hanging. I should mention that sometime during his first marriage, he did seek out counseling for his addiction issues. He became sober through a 12-step program, says that he's been sober all the years since. Close friends say he will still occasionally attend AA meetings. RFK Jr. married his third wife, actress Cheryl Hines, in the summer of 2014. She is most famous for playing Larry David's on-screen wife in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Hines and Kennedy had been dating for about 2 years previous, first meeting at a party, introduced to each other by Larry David. Most recently, when RFK Jr. tried to walk back a few of his more controversial comments, he said that after making them, he went home and Cheryl straightened him out on that. Jr. has made anti-vaccine comments, prompting Hines to tweet that her husband's opinions weren't necessarily her own. In a recent newspaper interview, it was revealed that RFK Jr. told Cheryl that he would be willing to announce that the two were separated in order to deflect negative attention toward her. Hines apparently declined the offer, saying she wants her husband to feel loved and supported. Well, that is love, right? Is it? I would think maybe this should be an example to the world, that we can hold wildly different opinions and still be husband and wife, friends, colleagues, co-workers, instead of being divided about everything. I guess. I'm dubious. I'm going to wait to see how this marriage plays out. RFK Jr.'s most high-profile controversial opinions are mostly about vaccines. We should remember that anti-vaxxers were already a strong movement well before COVID. In 2017, Jr. claims Donald Trump asked him to chair a commission on vaccine safety. In May of 2019, several Kennedy family members co-wrote an op-ed denouncing Jr.'s anti-vaccine stance as wrong. It has been found that RFK Jr.'s organization funded anti-vax ads on social media. He openly rallied against COVID vaccine policies in California and in Germany. In 2021, he was banned from Instagram for spreading false vaccine claims. Early in 2022, he compared his fight against vaccine mandates to the plight of Anne Frank.
Even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You can hide in an attic like Anne Frank did.
This is apparently where Cheryl straightened him out. He apologized a day later. Many Kennedy nephews, nieces, cousins have come out against Uncle Jr. Keeping track of them is tougher than keeping track of the British royal family lineage. Anyway, most recently, Jack Schlossberg, who's Caroline's son, JFK's grandson, posted an Instagram video calling out his cousin's presidential bid and, in fact, endorsing Joe Biden.
These are the issues that matter. And if my cousin, Bobby Kennedy Jr., cared about any of them, he would support Joe Biden too. Instead, he's trading in on Camelot, celebrity, conspiracy theories, and conflict for personal gain and fame. I've listened to him. I know him. I have no idea why anyone thinks he should be president. What I do know is his candidacy is an embarrassment. Let's not be distracted, again, by somebody's vanity project. I am excited to vote for Joe Biden in my state's primary and again in the general election. And I hope you will too.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. believes that there is a deep state trying to silence him from bringing the truth to the American people. The truth? About what? Well, first, vaccines. RFK Jr. plays this card rather well. Here's what I mean. Because there's this fine line between understanding that Big Pharma manipulates and lobbies governments while capitalizing on human ailments for exorbitant profits. A line between that and believing that a pandemic was an engineered event designed to further that cause and eventually also wipe out a huge part of humanity. Jr. blurs the line. Further, he goes on to say that COVID-19 was ethnically engineered and targeted to attack certain groups, while sparing Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people. Does this sound a little crazy to you? Well, no, not to me. To me, it sounds a lot crazy. He adds that this type of research is already being done by the Chinese and the U.S. This is what I mean about blurring the line. A lot of people on both sides of the political spectrum will buy in on how big pharma, big government, big corp, big money, big science are crushing the little guy. That one's easy to believe, right? Because we feel powerless. As soon as someone comes along to say they're going to drain the swamp, we're pretty ready to follow. Even though they might actually be the swamp, RFK Jr. fits that category. Puts himself out as a freedom fighter and just walks that fine line of plausible. I say plausible because, think about this. Can you bioengineer a specific virus that can target certain DNA threads that are more common within a certain race of people? I guess. I bet you could. Except the world is less and less pure races of people. And more there's a genetic mix in each of us. You'd be sparing people indiscriminately. But RFK Jr., this is your cause? This is the one that finally says to you, well, I guess I just have to run for president of the United States and fix all this. And he polls at about 20%, which is about the same that DeSantis polls against Trump. Meanwhile, in another survey altogether, 1/3 of all Americans say they don't want neither Trump nor Biden on the ballot for 2024. That's huge. But who then? DeSantis versus RFK Jr.? Bobby J versus Mike Pence? Not bloody likely. Special interest groups are contemplating running a third-party candidate. Historically, they don't do well and don't expect history to change there. Third-party candidates serve to weaken the cause of one side or the other. RFK Jr. is a Democrat, as many Kennedys before him, but he does say many of the things that MAGA Republicans love. And right now they do love him. He takes enough attention away from Biden, just enough, to weaken him in the polls going into an election. DeSantis does not have that same effect on Trump. I took a map of the United States, I drew some lines, and I think the sooner you break up into 8 separate countries, the better it will be for the rest of the world. It works out to 8 new nations, and not one of them should be called United States. And then all of your weirdos and nut jobs can be president of somewhere. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I don't know whether to be afraid or just feel sorry for him. What got him here? The pressure of being a Kennedy? The trauma at age 14? The troubled relationship with his mother, which he himself detailed in a book? Was it all the drugs and the booze? The constant lying that comes with being a serial philanderer? No, honey, I had to work late. Is it the pressure of sobriety? Was it leading an insulated life? All of the above? Fascinating, isn't it? He still polls around 20% among his own party.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
November of 2023 will mark the 60th anniversary of the assassination of an American president, John F. Kennedy. Hey, America, you've had 46 different presidents. You've managed to assassinate 4 of them. A few others have been shot at, and you've uncovered or foiled an assassination attempt on at least 15 others. This is not a good record. Last December, the Biden administration released about 13,000 more documents relating to the November 1963 assassination. These documents are now available to virtually anyone through the U.S. National Archives. In a White House memo only a few days ago, the Biden administration confirmed that they will continue to withhold the release of any remaining documents. Some president may do it someday, but for now, no more. We have this interesting attraction to the Kennedys and all of the events related, especially this one, and not just Americans. Though 99% of all documents relating to November 63 are public, a lot of people believe that somewhere in that 1% is the secret, the real answer to the mystery. The mystery of how Lee Harvey Oswald became a patsy to a conspiracy by the Russians, the Cubans, the mob, and the CIA to wipe out a president. Scholarly experts will tell you there's nothing there. Nothing in that 1% of documents. There's no smoking gun, metaphorically or literally, and that these documents only remain secret to protect the privacy and information of people who still might be alive. But still, large groups of people go, no, they're keeping a secret. They must be lying. And they're all in on it. Among the great conspiracy theories, like Area 51, alien autopsy, a fake moon landing, JFK assassination is the king of them all still. Ironic that 60 years on, one of our wackiest conspiracy theorists is JFK's nephew, and he wants to be president.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.